3 years later at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. This site is the largest missile field in the world.
We simply were told not to talk about it. We did not talk about it. Anyone.
As a Strategic Air Command launch controller, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Salas was one of the men responsible for the deployment of nuclear Minuteman missiles.
3, 2, 1, key turn.
These missiles were to be launched as a counterattack in the event of nuclear war. On March 16, 1967, Lieutenant Colonel Salas was on duty when he was contacted by his topside guard, stating that there was an unidentified object above the missile site. Salas ordered the guard to observe and report back on any further development.
He called back within a few minutes and was very frightened. I could tell by his voice he was extremely agitated. He said there was an object hovering outside the front gate, a reddish-orange, oval-shaped object, and it just hung there quietly. I went and woke up my commander and told him about the 2 phone calls. And as I was telling him about the phone calls, our missiles went into no-go condition, one after the other. And we lost nearly 20 missiles that morning.
After speaking with his commander, Salas again contacted the topside guard.
The guard said that the UFO had vanished, basically just took off at high speed, was no longer there. These missiles are controlled individually, so if something did happen within the system, the electrical system, or the command and control system for one missile, one launch facility, it would not affect the others. And in addition, these missiles are separated by miles. So all these things point to the fact that somehow this object was able to disable these missiles.
Later that day, Salas was ordered to report to the Air Force Office of Special Investigations for debriefing by 2 OSI officers.
And so after we gave him a little debrief, the first thing the OSI guy did is stand up and said, "You need to sign these documents not to disclose any of this to anyone, ever." And we signed, and basically that was it. Neither one of them asked too many more questions, and we were escorted out.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In his farewell address to the nation, President Eisenhower cautioned the public about the relationship between the U.S. military and the industrial sector which supplies the military with weaponry and equipment. Eisenhower felt that if gone unchecked, the military-industrial complex would become too powerful.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
But I think he was telling us the military-industrial complex will stick you in the back if you are not totally vigilant. And I think he felt like he had not been vigilant. I think he felt like he trusted too many people.
Brigadier General Stephen Lovkin served under President Eisenhower in the White House Army Signaling Agency. He recalls Eisenhower's concern with the military-industrial complex.
He realized that he was losing control. He realized that the phenomenon of whatever it was that we were faced with was not going to be in the best hands, and those were as far as I can remember, that was the expression that was used. It's not going to be in the best hands.
Whatever activity is going on, to the extent that it is a clandestine group, a quasi-government group, a quasi-private group, it is without any type, as far as I can tell, of high-level government oversight. And that is a great concern.
I think a number of
of people getting their information from news stories, not in all cases, but in many cases, are not getting all of the information.
The first response I got was a bit of a terse response from a colonel in the Air Force. The letter just said, we've referred your request for information to the National Archives, with really no further explanation. And I found that unusual at the very least.
After a second attempt with the Department of Defense, Congressman Schiff was again referred to the National Archives.
And I got a response from them that said, we have no information about the Roswell incident. And further, they added a note that said, we've received a great number of requests for information. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, if the Defense Department is sending everybody to the National Archives, that they'd be getting a lot of requests. And frankly, I felt this was a runaround. In other words, in my view, the Defense Department sent me to another agency on my request, knowing that agency would not have any information.
There is a serious possibility that we are being visited and have been visited for many years by people from outer space, from other civilizations. That it behoves us, in case some of these people in the future or now should turn hostile, to find out who they are, where they come from, and what they want.
Well, if the accounts are to be believed, yes, there have been ET visitation, there have been crashed craft, there have been material and bodies recovered, and there is some group of people somewhere that may or may not be associated with government at this point, but certainly were at one time, that have this knowledge.
The thing you have to remember is that absolute power corrupts absolutely. When you've got the knowledge and the budget, nobody looking over your shoulder, it's a great temptation to think that you know best. Back with the public, they don't know enough to have a sensible opinion. That's unfortunate.
In the summer of 1980, I was assigned to RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge, the twin base complex in East Suffolk, England, as the deputy base commander. On the morning of December 26th, I stopped by the Police Operations Center and talked to the desk sergeant, and when I walked in, the sergeant started to laugh and told me I wouldn't believe what had happened the night before. I said, try me, or something to that effect. And he said 3 of the young security policemen had been out in the woods chasing a UFO all night, and we kind of had a snicker. There had to be some explanation for this, and we really didn't think that awful much about it at that time.
2 nights later, the head of base security rushed into Holt's office with an ashen look on his face.
And he said, it's back. And we all looked at each other, what's back? He said, the UFO is back. And we stood there rather puzzled. So I said, well, I'll go. And I went home and changed clothes and put a utility uniform on, got my tape recorder.